So the first joke that I remember kind of understanding and committing to memory to share was in my old Baptist church. And the minister said that a young boy, had heard the service that morning. And the service, in essence, was, we come from dust, and when we pass away, we return to dust. Dust we come, dust we return. And the joke was, little boy goes home, and his mom tells him to clean up his room, particularly under the bed, and he says, I can't because there's people under there and I can't tell if they're going or coming. Right? That's the joke. But I have some observations about dust that I'd like to share with you. Because this is the bane of my existence in some ways, and others it's just inconsequential. Right? Now, have you ever read about what dust actually is inside your house? It's like flotsam and jetsam and back hair, dead skin and cat dander and human dander, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it's everywhere. And so I have a fairly high tolerance for mess up to a point, but when it gets really, really, really dusty, I feel compelled to do something about it. So I get out my Swiffer and I'm going around, and a lot of times here in Tracy City, the expectation is that the house be really nice because we also rent it out as an Airbnb, so it has to be like kind of a little sparkly, right? So this dust thing for me is a constant, and I'm constantly trying to make sure that it's okay. And then after I put all this effort, the Swiffer and me put in all this effort, the Lemon Pledge and me put all this effort in, I sit down. And then the sun catches it just right, and you can just see it. It's just like, it's still here, and it's not going away, and it's looking for a place to land. And I'll be right back at it. Right? Okay. So from your laughter, I'm thinking you identify with this. This is okay. All right. So, morning, John.
Good morning.
A couple of weeks ago, it became very clear to me that it was time, in fact, it was unavoidable, that I get out and clean out the garage. And at my house in Tracy City, it's like there's steps down into the garage, to the car garage that has never had cars in it. It's a storage area, okay? So I walk out into the garage with my Swiffer, and I look around, and the little blue and white part of the Swiffer goes, and it was way beyond what a Swiffer was going to be able to do. I'm standing there, and tell me if this sounds like your garage. There are rusty paint cans of vintage. Okay. There are grass clippings from God knows which lawn mowing, because I pushed the lawnmower in there. In my particular case, 3 households worth of stuff of various things. My mom's stuff, my sister's stuff, and then some of my dad's stuff that my sister had when she passed away. So inside the garage, as I'm looking at it and about to clean it up, I'm seeing the paint cans, I'm seeing the grass clippings, I'm seeing the spider webs. I'm seeing all these albums. And if you've ever done this, boxes that you open up and there's a picture of your mom when she was 16 in the Salvation Army. And a picture of my grandfather when he was a merchant marine. What do you do with these things? He's like, I Okay, I'm gonna look at this later. Okay, this is my response to it. Okay, I'll get to this, just not now. Y'all are nodding your heads like, this is familiar too. The dust in a garage is made up of entirely different stuff than the stuff in the house. It's dusty. You got all that rust and stuff. But you have dead insect legs. You probably have those in your house too, but in my garage, all of this funky stuff. And I start moving things around. This poor little crusty dead amphibian from God knows when is under a box over there, and there's spiders behind. And then you move the refrigerator and you look down and go, my God, it lives this way. And you realize I live this way. We have a rapid old dryer that we use sometimes, so there's all that lint around. You guys have the picture, right? So days. In fact, I called up a friend and said, hey, I'm trying to clean out my garage and it's just overwhelming me. Do you mind? He goes, oh, sure, I'll come down, spend a couple of days with you. And we did. Wholesale, we're taking everything out. I mean, he's one of these guys who's like, it's not his mom in the picture. He just wants the box out in the driveway. So it looks like I'm having a garage sale out there as we're put bicycle, lawnmower, tools, old paint cans, all of it. And he's just brutal. We're getting rid of this. We're taking this to the dump. We're taking this to the dump, making decisions I couldn't. Okay. So there's a lot of stuff that went to the dump. Who knows what it was. But we finally got it empty. The garage, okay, 10 feet away from the garage looked awful. Because all those boxes and all that stuff is still there. Now, I've taken a lot to the dump, but this stuff has to go somewhere, right? And there's this moment of victory we both had. We just looked around and it's like, it's empty. And if you looked in the sun, you could see the chunk floating in that little sunbeam. And he goes, how would you think about mopping this? And I said, that's a good idea. And I said, tell you the truth, I thought about painting the floor. He goes, me too, let's do it. Now we bumped the job up a little bit. So we kind of have to really kind of do a dusting and a real good sweeping and then mopping it. And then going to get the paint, and we paint, and it says must be 24 hours to set before. We don't have 24 hours, so repaint it before it's ready. So now you walk along and your feet go, it's still a little sticky, but it's clean. It's clean. And then we turn around and go, okay, where is this gonna go? We're gonna hang it back in. And now it starts all over. There's just less of it. No more. We even actually found a snake skin in there. Like what's this long? But it's like, hey, you got snakes, right? No, I didn't. But thanks for letting me know. I know we've got amphibians because I just found the little carcass over here. Found the lint, all this stuff. Now I'm starting over and I realize this doesn't stop. There's another round of this. Now all those cardboard boxes with the pictures and the memorabilia, they're all just located in the same place. I still have to go through them. Now my garage is actually, now you can move through it. You can move around. Before it was kind of like this. It was almost like, I'm not a hoarder, but it was almost kind of like that, not because I was hoarding it. I just didn't know what to do with it. Now it's, at least you can move around in there. This is the kind of stuff that just wears me out. I go into that garage with good intention and look at it and then go, I need a nap. That's the good response. After a nap, I'll have the energy to get to this. It never happens. It's because dust for me and that kind of clutter is just overwhelming. And it never, ever stops. There's never a point at which, okay, I cleaned up the dust. There's more coming. You know, in 1979, Neil Young wrote that, produced an album, Rust Never Sleeps. I was reading about it recently, and I didn't realize this at 1979. There were a lot of things I didn't realize in 1979, but this particular album was his pushback against the music industry. That title, Rust Never Sleeps, is because the corrosive nature of the music industry is trying to push you into a box. And he was saying, to keep my creative spirit alive, I've got to push back against the music industry. And that changes entirely that line, it's better to burn out than to fade away. Remember that line from that song, my, hey, hey. But rock and roll will never die. But you know, you got to keep pushing. You have to keep expanding. You have to keep trying. Because rust never sleeps. The compression of mediocrity and conformity is constantly at work. Interesting idea. And so it is, I believe, with spiritual dust. And that's the real point of the content. Because there's no end to the things that push against us and our responses to it that drain our spiritual health. One of the ones that I see dominant for everybody right now is anger, resentment. If I'm carrying around resentment, it's really hard to maintain a good spiritual condition, a sense of feeling centered and okay, and not having grudges against other people that spill out into everything, spill out and onto the people I love the most. It's okay to be angry. If I get angry, it might motivate me to do something. Anger is not something I can avoid. It's just one of the emotions. But when I don't process it and deal with it, and it turns into resentment, it's a big dose of spiritual dust. Now, here's another one I've thought about, which is fear. I'm just afraid. It won't work. I tried it before, it didn't work. I'm not good at that. That's beyond my capacity. I'm afraid. I think fear is the thing that stands in the way of us becoming who we're truly intended to be. I'm afraid of what other people might say or do. So fear is some of that spiritual dust that's constantly moving around. There's another one, natural, and that's sadness and grief. There's a lot to be angry about these days. There's a lot to be afraid of. There's a lot to be sad about. Particularly in this community now that we lost someone very close to us. But sadness, just at, I don't know about you guys, but sadness about people changing. about changing ourselves. About how everything never stays the same. I'd love it to, but it doesn't. How do I navigate that when that's just reality of life? So sadness is one. Another one I think many of us struggle with is envy. That one can be really, really damaging, and sometimes I don't even know I've got it. But if I'm envying other people, you know what's a companion to that one? Self-pity. Wish I had that. That person doesn't deserve that. I do. The promotion, money, the house, whatever it is, those are things, I mean, all of these things are just floating around us. And they land on us and they get in. One of the worst layers of spiritual dust is feeling hopeless. This is never going to get better. This is as good as it gets. Or it's as good as it gets for now, and it's only going to get worse. What do we do with this? Because it's just like dust in your house. You can kind of get past it for a little while. And then there's another whole layer of it. How do we navigate this as folks in the journey of spiritual health and spiritual awakening? So I would offer the equivalent of a Swiffer by saying one of the things that we have to do to keep our spiritual health alive is to take action. You know, if I've got resentments, I have to identify them. I need to work through them. If I'm mad about something, sometimes I can, eliminate the resentment by taking action about what I'm angry about. Injustice. Okay. Some failure in our support system out there, and we can help other people. And in taking that action, I don't have that resentment. Okay. And when I'm fearful, a lot of times all it takes is a little bit of action to overcome that. If I'm fearful of something and I try it and I fail, but I almost succeed, I'm not as afraid, I'll try it again. And I overcome that. Now, not to say there aren't things to be afraid of, but I don't want to live there. What actions can I take? So that's one of the Swiffers I would offer to the spiritual test we struggle with, is let's take some action. Because I don't know about you guys, but if I don't have a day, here's the worst day for me. Look at the dust. I'll get to that. Oh, I need something in the garage. Oops, I don't need it now. And I'll sit back down. And I don't do anything really constructive all day. And at the end of the day, I don't know about you guys, but I'll find it somewhere and I'll get out the little web. Didn't do anything today. Didn't make any progress today. Tough way to live. Here's the thing. If I can take action, it makes a difference. But here's the other part. There's a huge component to acceptance that makes the spiritual dust kind of fly away. Because if I accept, this is the way it is. I love this idea. Somebody said the other day, you've heard that saying, this too will pass. It changes everything if you just say this too. This too. It's just part of life. This too. Now I'm not scared of it. Now I'm not resentful of it. This is just life. So acceptance is a big thing. And so is gratitude. You're probably sick of hearing about gratitude, 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 but you know, when I wake up and I have a cup of coffee and I go, you know, all that stuff out in the garage, because I had a family that I love and I'm attached to that stuff. And you know what? There's nobody on the other side of the planet going, you know, Stan's garage really messed up today. I don't know how we're gonna get through the day. Okay, that's on me. And when I practice gratitude, all of this seems so much lighter. It seems so much easier to deal with. So that's my message this morning. You could fill in your own spiritual dust. You can fill in your ways of dealing with it. But ultimately, I think the key here is recognizing this is the state of the world. This is the nature of life. And I'm going to accept it. I'm going to practice gratitude. I'm going to go get a box of sweepers. Thanks.